Good afternoon, this is Jeff at Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we are at property address 1646 Southwest 58th Avenue here in Portland. I describe everything in general as if you're standing like out in the driveway or the street facing the front of the home. So we're in the crawl space right now going into a 3-inch ABS clean out, and we are at the rearmost portion of the crawl space. Alright, sorry about that, took me a second there. Get the knockout plate out. It's a little temporary plate they put in these things. That was a stubborn one. You're supposed to remove those. Anyhow, sorry if I'm repeating myself here. I kind of lost my train of thought, but we're checking the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. We are going to leave water... Now my foot counter doesn't want to zero out. I'm having all kinds of fun here today. Alright, we're going to zero the foot counter out here just inside the clean out. We have water off currently. I'm coming in here right as the home inspection's finished up, so tons and tons of water's been down this thing. A lot of times on this type of house, the lines will be quite short. So we're going to leave it off for now unless we need it. Alright, that's actually the true zero point. This is where we're at now, actually underground. And we may have to actually move to the outside. We'll see here. So that right there, that we just went through a Y, those often have a clean out above them. Oh, yep, this is a super short line. That's actually the main trunk line right there. So this thing just gets, I mean, all of about 7-8 feet outside the home, and that is where the line terminates. If you pull back, it's kind of a hard one to get a good view of, but right as I come back in here, that right there is the edge of the Y connection dropping into the top of the main trunk line. So these are usually very short, this type of condominium attached home setup. This one's even shorter than the ones I typically see. I've been doing this for 13 years now and cambered almost 25,000 sewer lines, and generally you've got something more like a 15-20 foot run, which is still very, very short. This is fantastic though. That just means you have that much less pipe you're responsible for, and the shorter the line, the less chance for problems. And this thing is almost a sheer downhill run the entire way. Everything's shooting through here like a rocket. So about 8 feet to the main and 4-inch 30-34. And the homeowner's done a pretty good job at keeping the line clean. Most notably, no grease buildup in the line, which is nice to see. Anyway, based on how that's oriented there, it looks like you've got a line running behind the home, either from left to right or right to left. I'm going to see, you've got a little oddity there. Bear with me a moment. This is a hard spot to get a good view of. So if you look on the right side of the screen right there, you've got a little bit of stringy stuff. The hard part is if you notice, actually you've got a couple things that have hung up there, and it's making me think this is more likely to be human hair than roots. You've got a shopping tag. Those little plastic things you rip off your t-shirt with the tag attached to them. You can see one stuck in the joint right there. You've also got some kind of fine hair looking items sticking out of the joint. Anyway, that joint there is just barely out of whack, which creates a little tiny bit of a lip on it. And so what I'm not seeing here is a bunch of obvious dirt stains coming through the pipe joint. Generally when roots penetrate a joint, you'll have roots, but you'll also have other signs it's open to the ground. Generally you'll have dirt streaks coming off that particular area there. You know, being that there is some level of stringy stuff there, it's possible it's roots. Given that it's catching foreign debris as it comes down line, clearly, the more likely culprit here is it's probably human hair. What is there is so small, you really can't discern what it is. But part of the reason this, I've cameraed, I cannot tell you how many thousands of root intrusions. There's a little bit about that is rootesque, don't get me wrong. It's the inconsistent length of the stringy items. You can see how some are a certain length, the rest of them run way down there. The color is so jet black, that looks like string or hair. So I will notate that on the report. This is in no way, shape, or form affecting functionality. But there's just not enough there, in my opinion, to even confirm roots. There's a little bit there that kind of looks like it, but not all the other stuff I tend to see. And being that there's a little bit of a lip on the joint like this, and we're in a straight vertical drop, it's the prime conditions to allow for stringy stuff to get caught on that little joint there. So anyway, I will notate it on the report. Just understand that a lot of that is liability related. I'm going to put possible roots on there. And again, it's possible it is, but my experience, which is vast with root intrusions, when you get up close to that, it's not displaying itself like a root typically does. And the coloration of it is odd for roots. Roots are generally always brown, kind of a clearish brown color. And they tend to grow through differently. You usually get flared tips on the end of the roots. And secondarily to that, you will almost always have dirt seeping through as well. All it takes is one person with some long black hair. Hair gets caught on every little tiny lip or imperfection in a line, whether it's significant or minor, which that one is very minor. Anyway, if the joint showed more signs that it was exposed to the ground, I would not expect to see that with a joint that is about a 32nd of an inch out of whack, maybe a 16th. So very minor stuff. And usually when roots come through one spot in a joint like that, you're going to have secondary signs around the whole entire joint where because it's compromised. It's usually pretty darn obvious when it's roots. Especially in a newer sewer line like this that has just good color contrast versus something like old concrete or cast iron pipe. So anyway, we have good flow all the way out to the main lateral connection, which is all of 8 feet out the back of the house. A little bit of a question mark there at the transition joint. Again, without any other secondary signs there, I'm not going to jump to let's go and fix that thing. There's just not enough going on. Anyway, and you can always contact the HOA and find out how responsibility is divvied up here. In the event it was a root, you know, realistically, you'd have to rescope this thing in time to see if any changes occur there. But given my experience with this stuff, I give it a very low likelihood that that's actually roots there at all. Anyway, aside from that there, the rest of the line here is in good shape. Has good flow end to end. Sewer line's functioning properly at this time. Very nicely functioning line.